Welcome to the Wise and Happy Life podcast, where ancient wisdom meets modern science, and mindfulness, philosophy, and happiness practices blend with neuroscience, compassion, and common sense. Hosted by Bob Martin, meditation mentor, happiness coach, trial lawyer, and entrepreneur. This podcast explores how to live with grace, presence, and purpose in a complex world.
Hey, good people. Welcome to another episode of A Wise and Happy Life podcast. And I always like to start out with a little something that's going to set the tone for our guest. And I can't think of anything better to say than eat brownies for breakfast. I just love it. So today we have Lynne Bowman with us today, and she is a philosopher grandma that can tell you all about weight losing, healthy, wellness, longevity, a little bit about weightlifting too, yes?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that leads us into something that I always like to talk about is just strength. Strength of character, strength of mind, strength of body, and how the stronger we are, the less we fear, the more open life is. And Lynne has a lot to say about that. So, Lynne, you know something about brownies and breakfast and diabetes and wellness. So, where do we start?
Well, let's start with the brownies.
Okay, sounds
Because,
good.
as I'm fond of saying, who doesn't love a brownie? And people always ask me why that ended up being the title of this recent book. And it's because clickbait. I mean, if you can't attract people with a brownie, I mean, come on. Um,
Right.
but the difference is with my brownies, they are good, whole, real, healthy food. They're sugar-free. And also that word is so funny. And it's different now than it was 3 or 4 years ago. But when I started this quest, you would say sugar-free, and people would just go, no thanks. Like you were obviously talking about some nasty tasting, some chemical thing that had been recently proven cancer causing or some awful thing. But I am, excuse me, I am diabetic and I cough sometimes.
Let me cough with you a little
Yeah,
compassionate empathy here.
here's some coffee. Here's some black coffee.
There you go.
I am diabetic and have known since I was in my 40s that I am a type 2 diabetic. So I have been trying very hard since then to stay alive and stay strong and be here for my children and my family. And so I have a very different attitude than a lot of people do about health. I was just determined that I was going to get to be old. And by the way,
Mhm.
I've done that. I'm very happy about it. This is my 80th year. And
Oh, wow. That's so
yeah, and
great.
I,
I
you
was going to ask, but thank you for sharing. I was in One time when I first got to North Carolina, I asked somebody on the stand what her age was, and the judge looked at me and he said, "So here in the South, you do not ask a lady the age." But thank you for sharing.
well, I'm bragging about it because you know, there was a time in my life, as well as many of y'all's lives, when
Mhm.
the idea of being 80 years old was just, I had this vision of what it looked like and what it felt like and what you would be like. And I'm telling you, for me anyway, none of that so far has happened, except, and I think this is news for you. I don't think you know this, Bob, but I broke a femur uh, 8 weeks
Oh.
ago.
Mhm.
And I'm telling people it was a wrestling accident. Mhm. I'm
Oh.
lying. Yeah, it was weightlifting. No, you know what I did? I tried to pull a vine off of an azalea, and the vine won. And I landed up on my rear end in the gravel in my front yard, and it has been humbling and educational and interesting in so many ways to be in that situation. I'm actually still on a walker uh, because of this. And if any of you have had that kind of an accident, your femur is a big bone, and it's what carries you around. And it's apparently one of the top 5 painful things you can do to yourself, like because of the nerves and everything. It's extremely painful. And of course, you are crippled because you can't put weight on it. You can't. So, in the past 2 months, I have been through this journey of realizing what it's like for so many people who are struggling just to walk, who are on walkers, who are in wheelchairs, so on. Um, I was arrogant about, as many people are, I'm on my 2 feet, right? I can go upstairs, I can do that. Well, not anymore. So the good news is I'll be back soon. The bone is healing. The x-rays look good. I have some gorgeous titanium in my leg now, from my hip down to my knee, and it's holding me up, and it's gonna be okay.
You're
But
going to have to go through the special line at TSA.
yes, I am. I can't wait. But also, who wants to fly anymore? Not
Right.
me. Hoping I don't have to do that soon. But so what everyone in the medical community around me has said to me is, you know what? It's a good thing you were in the shape you were. And we don't see women your age in the physical shape that you are, because I've been lifting weights, doing, um, strength training, resistance training, 4 days a week. I was working out very regularly, for an hour a day with a trainer, with my girl gang too.
Lynn, I want to stop for just a second and really emphasize the importance of what you're saying right now, because I think it's something that kind of like just passes us by. And that is that we don't wait until there's some crisis, or we don't wait until we find that we're too weak to do something before we start to work out. Working out is something that is prospectively helpful.
Yeah.
Um, I if I can just tell a quick little story. I remember one time I was talking about meditation and how it helps us strengthen ourselves and strengthen our thinking in order to deal with the chaos of life and things like grief. And one of my students said, so are you saying that we should meditate like if we lose our child or something? And I said, well, that's kind of like saying your friend has asked you to move his apartment up to a second floor flat, and you're going to go to the gym the day before the move so that you can get strong and help him move the furniture. No, what you have been doing is getting yourself fit so that when something like breaking a femur comes along, you can recover. And I hate to take the time from you, but that is just such an important piece of it. It's so proactive, and God bless for that.
It's huge. And you'll just have to make this up to me and I'll be back. All right. Time.
Okay.
Uh, no, that's exactly the point, Bob. I mean, what I had always heard in the back of my head was this thing, well, when you're 80 or so, I mean, if you have a hip break, a bad break, you're done. Your life is shortened. You'll be in a wheelchair the rest of your life. We've all heard these stories. And we're also reading about how women's bones, especially, soften and deteriorate. And it's, can you fix it? Can you help it? And then, of course, all these folks now are trying to sell us potions, and additives and things to make our bones stronger. And then there are, of course, pharma remedies to make our bones stronger. It's difficult to really know what's working, what's not working. But what we do know helps is resistance training, strength training. And it apparently does help. And I am going to go for a bone density scan, which I had scheduled not previous to this, but after this. So I'm curious now to see what that says. Reading about it, there are a lot of sources that say don't bother with a bone density scan at your age. Who cares? Know that your bones are softening. And in fact, my surgeon, who is somewhat younger than me, said to me on the phone, Lynn, you got to know that my bones are soft, your bones are soft. We're all getting older. All of our bones are getting older. It just is a thing that happens. But you can, here's the part I didn't get. It isn't how soft your bone is, it's how much muscle you have holding your bones up. Oh,
Ah, oh, oh.
oh, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. If you're not strong, if your muscles aren't relatively strong, you're going to fall. You're going to lose your balance. You're not going to be able to get up. So what saved me, if you will, was the fact that I had some, I mean, they're old and they're adorable, but they are muscles. I had muscle, which particularly so many older women don't have because we've not been using our upper bodies, particularly in the way that men typically do. So we don't have that upper body strength, but and we don't typically lift weights. We don't typically, I mean, my workout included hanging, from bars and things, which doesn't sound fun, but it kind of is. And um, it helps. It can keep you literally alive,
Mm.
especially if you're doing aerobic gardening like I am sometimes. Um,
Yeah, aerobic gardening.
those vines are tough, let me tell you.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, I think this is a really important piece of information because I most of the women that I know, the ones that exercise, mostly they go to aerobic classes.
Mhm.
They do drums, they do Zumba, they love it, and it's a lot of fun. There's got a lot of community in that, and it's great. And there's nothing that I would ever even begin to take away from that. I just feel like, I mean, I do strength training, and I just feel like it's a missing piece, maybe.
Exactly, and so I would recommend adding 1 or 2 sessions a week if you're not doing a circuit training kind of thing already. Just add some strength training and see how it goes with you, but particularly for us older chicks, this is something that just hasn't been part of our routine. I loved dancing too and did a lot of those things, but the strength training I think is huge. And according to what I read, there's a lot of research behind that.
Mhm.
So I'm still here and I plan to go back to the gym sensibly as soon as I can. I'm not supposed to be putting weight on this leg for a bit yet. We'll see what the doc says when I go back. But it's been so interesting. Um, I think I'm not alone. Many of us feel like we're made of steel. It's not going to happen to us, right? I'm going to be all right. But it happened to me, and I'm
Mhm.
still here, back to talk about it. So yes, strength training is huge. But another thing I'm here to talk about, which is also huge, is that it doesn't do any good to do all this stuff strength training if you're eating crap. And so I'm here to advocate for whole, real food. I don't diet. I don't journal. I'm uh, a lazy cook, and I'm also kind of pathologically frugal. So my whole approach to eating healthy is cheap, fast, good. And also I fed a bunch of kids and husband and so on. So the brownies, the secret, as it is with all the stuff that I do, it's no sugar. And what I want to recommend to everybody is I hope you have a pencil. It's one word and it's kind of it's yucky sounding, but it's terrific stuff. It's called allulose, Allulose. And like monk fruit, it's one of 2 sweeteners that I highly recommend that is a food product. It's not chemical. It tastes great. It caramelizes just like sugar. You won't know you're not eating sugar, except you will get better. You'll get well. You will lose your addiction to sugar if you change to allulose.
So
And
tell us a little bit more about allulose. I've heard of stevia. I've heard of monk fruit. I have not heard of allulose. Where do you
okay,
get it? How do you buy it? How does it compare?
you can I think Trader Joe's might have some now, but you can buy it online easily. As long as you got the spelling right, you can buy it in most health food stores. Although I have been in a Whole Foods where I looked up and down, there was none, except they had it mixed with erythritol, which I do not recommend. Erythritol is a sugar alcohol that makes some people sick. And so I'm very conscious after having done this for a long time. I don't want you with a bellyache trying to quit sugar. I want you happy and healthy trying to quit sugar. And allulose is the way to do it. Monk fruit works all very well, but also you see it mixed with erythritol a lot. Stevia, I just don't like the taste of it. It's okay in small amounts. It's a natural product. But I want you to try allulose if you are serious about quitting sugar, which I want you to be serious about because it is a thing that is making us really ill. I mean, and what's cool is if you commit to quitting sugar and you start reading all the labels of all the things that you buy and you're determined not to buy stuff with sugar in it in all of its forms, you'll find that you're no longer eating processed food. It just eliminates all these foods that you know you probably shouldn't be eating anyway.
Now, you just said something in all its forms. And so,
Mhm.
how do they trick us?
Oh, anything with the oh, which I
High fructose corn syrup.
yes, all that stuff. This is not news. You're
Yeah,
reading
I know.
about this stuff. You know that there's all kinds of sugar in all different form. Cane sugar. Now, natural cane sugar, it's sugar, right? Also, if you are at all leaning in your numbers toward diabetes, if you're pre-diabetic or just kind of not liking what you see in your hemoglobin A1C, you should not be eating honey or maple syrup, even though they're natural products. They are intensely sweet, sugary products. You should be eating fruit, whole fruit, because and a lot of people ask this question. I think there's so much misinformation out there about what's good and what's not, but whole real food, that kind of tells you. Um, and but that's why I go into this explanation about allulose, because it doesn't sound whole or real, but it actually originates as corn and it just gets squished. And corn, you think corn really yeah, but trust me, try it. And so my brownies are made from nut butter, and you can choose the kind of nut butter you want. Um, but as long as it's not sweetened, it's just squished nuts. And here's a kind of a bit of a secret: canned pumpkin puree, vegetable, healthy, whole. Um, so allulose, cocoa, pumpkin, nut butter, and you mix it. Oh, eggs or egg substitute if you don't eat eggs. A couple more baking soda, a couple things, mix it up in a bowl. It's easy. Bake it, and you eat these puppies, and that's a meal. That's not a little fake thing that you buy in a wrapper that says high protein. It's actually really high protein, very nutritious, fiber, and cocoa chocolate is health food. Good
And where do we find this recipe?
in brownies for breakfast.
Brownies for breakfast, which is available on.
Amazon or your corner bookstore. If they don't carry it, and they probably don't, just ask them to order it for you. If
Mhm,
you prefer to buy it from them, and I support that 100%. I've got a few local folks around here who carry it, but um,
mhm,
check
mhm.
it out online. And it's not just desserts. I mean, the intention of the book is that if you want to eat well, it should be easy, cheap, fun. It shouldn't be agony. It should be familiar foods that you like. So there's recipes in there for macaroni and cheese, not kidding. All these things that, and here's a bonus. If you're looking to lose weight, you will without trying. I tell you everything you need to know in there. Little things like how to eat greens 3 times a day, which you go, wait a minute, green,
Wait a minute.
dark
Wait.
greens
Yeah.
3 times a
Beans,
day?
dark.
Mm. You can. It's yummy. They're cheap. They're super nutrient dense. And losing weight is not about what not eating food. It's about eating more of the food that's going to make you healthy. So I don't want anybody going hungry. I don't like hungry at all.
Mm-hmm.
I like just
I know.
eating good food.
Worse than hungry is hangry.
Hangry is a thing. Yeah. But it's also important to talk about when we eat, timing of food, and everyone's reading now about fasting and intermittent fasting, and just that
Yeah.
word strikes terror in our hearts, right? But a thing that I certainly do, and a lot of people I know are doing more, is I'm done at 4 in the afternoon with food. Done. Because I have eaten well for breakfast, for lunch, for brunch, for late lunch, whatever. I eat what I want during the day. I stop eating. I do not eat at night. I try never to go out for dinner. First of all, who can afford it now?
Yeah. Right.
Right? Um,
Hmm.
Going out to eat at all, but if I go, it's
So what?
lunch.
What? I mean, what do you think biochemically or physiologically is going on with that? Not eating at night. Why do you do it, and
Okay.
why do you think it helps?
All right. I have a word, the word of the day.
Okay. Yeah.
Autophagy. Autophagy. It means, this is great. It means self-eating. Doesn't it sound grody?
Uh huh.
What it is you need to give your body 14 hours or more without having to digest anything. So, because there's all this stuff that your cells need to do that they can only do when they're not busy with another hamburger or chips in front of Jimmy Kimmel at night. It's
Hmm.
just like the road crew. You need to get the traffic off the road before the crew can come out and do the cleaning. And your
Right.
body,
Right.
this process, autophagy, that goes on at a cellular level. It's cells cleaning out other cells and getting rid of the ones that are no longer useful and repurposing. Who knew this? Repurposing cells that are still useful but need some work. And apparently, your cells know how to do this. Who knew? It's cool.
Hmm.
But you need to not be eating all the time. Now, if you wanted to go without food all day and only eat at night, that might be okay. But to get this 14-hour plus gap between meals, the easy way to do it is just stop eating in the evening. And then all of a sudden, yeah, okay. And then you don't eat until the next day at 7, 8, 9, whatever it is. Count up the hours. And many of us don't really need to eat in the morning right away. I mean,
Hmm.
and of course, because you're doing what I tell you and you're not eating sugar and you're not eating processed flour, that means no croissant in the morning. Sorry, not going to happen. No bagel.
No.
No. If you're
No.
gonna
No choco trips. No choco chips.
no, if you're gonna eat breakfast, it's gonna be a brownie from my book, or other good stuff from my book, but no
So
sugar.
let's say 14 hours. Let's say so 5 o'clock to 12 o'clock is 7 hours, and 12 o'clock to 7 is 14. So 5 o'clock to 7 a.m. would be 14 hours. Most of the time you're not sleepy. But one of the things that I've talked to some folks about this, and one of the things people are hesitant to want to give up, especially in the morning, is those people that like milk in their coffee. They want to have their coffee, and they want to have a little milk in the coffee. Is that gonna interfere?
Yeah, and I don't want you drinking milk anyway. I don't want you
Oh,
putting dairy in your coffee. Stop it. Stop it
okay.
now.
Why? Why? Why?
Because it is not a food that most adults or actually children, cow's milk particularly, is difficult for your system. And my youngest child is a nurse practitioner who specializes in GI, and she tells the greatest stories about people who come in with just these problems they've had for so long and so on. And her first answer is, okay, no dairy, just stop dairy. And people are very resistant to this.
Mm.
And sometimes they'll come in a second time and she'll say, well, how are you doing? Oh, still bad. Did you quit dairy? Well, no, I just kind of had to, okay, now are you going to quit dairy? It's it it's the simplest, most effective way to get your guts healed up quickly. And
Now,
it
when you say dairy, you talking cheese, you talking milk, you talk all dairy.
cheese is a little different because it's typically fermented. It doesn't have the same chemical, everything. And we're talking cow dairy. If cows are a different protein than sheep and goat. And if you can get sheep feta is one of the greatest ingredients ever. Feta cheese, sheep's milk, cheese, probably won't bother you. But most people put cow's cream in their coffee. So if you haven't already changed, try, the oat milk or the, nut milks or something, but try to just get cow's dairy out of your diet.
Well,
And especially safe.
if I don't put cow's milk in my milk, can I put those chemical things in my milk?
Well, you know,
I'm being
chemical,
facetious here.
okay, but nut milk, so I don't see them as chemical. A lot of people are,
No, no, I mean those things that are powder, the
oh,
creamers.
yeah,
Uh,
I don't
uh,
know.
uh.
I mean, that's
No,
another
but
quick and easy thing, Bob. If you just read the label,
label.
anything that you put in your adorable little body, that's going to change the way you think and eat, right? But most of
Mhm.
us don't have that discipline.
So I guess that's the thing. I was just talking to another fellow. We were talking about how so many things that people do, they do it for a while, and it seems like it's almost as if they quit just before the miracle happens.
Mm, mm,
You
mm,
know, and it's that being able to be consistent and keeping it up until you really see the benefits. And you hear the term trust in the process, and people go, yeah, yeah, trust in the process. But it really does take a certain amount of faith and trust in the process, and somebody telling you, yeah, this is going to show up, just stick with it. But it's not easy to get started,
well, no.
but unless you get brownies.
Yes, that makes it very easy. But also, we have this emotional attachment to our food, you know, um, especially in the South. Let's just say it right now. Um,
Hmm?
and as a pimento cheese addict, can I confess to that right now to the whole world? Um, yeah, food is culture, and food is love, and food is all these other things. So, which is another reason I did this book, because I wanted it to look like familiar, homey stuff that was like what you were already eating, but I've taken all the bad stuff out and put some good stuff in, and I want you to try it and see if you won't like it as well or better than what you're eating now. But the thing is, you know, um, if I can be an example for anybody, uh, please let me be that example, uh, that I'm recovering from a femur break fine at my age. I'm still mean as a snake. I'm still partying, I can still chase a grandkid big time.
Mhm.
Uh, and that's what I want for everybody. I, you know, you don't want to wait until you're 70 and go, oh, dang, I blew that.
Yeah, yeah. So, Lynn, you've you found out that you were diabetic in your 40s. You decided that you wanted to live a long and useful life.
Yes.
You set out on a wellness journey. You're in your 80s. You broke a femur and you're recovering from that. You're chasing your grandkids around and you strength train.
Mhm.
And all of that is physical. I want you to talk for a moment about what achieving the with the consistency and with the persistence of being able to follow this path. What has that done for you on a deep mental and emotional level?
This is such an interesting question, and one that I think will need another hour to talk or so. There is now evidence that babies are born fearless or not. And I talk to my kids about it because I have at least one who truly was born fearless. I mean, I could not turn my back on that kid. She would just go. She was always going to make a break, out with the cattle, whatever. And her whole life has demonstrated that just lack of fear. And I also think I might have been that person. And they're saying that it's chemical, possibly. And I've just gotten started with the book called Eve that everyone else but me has read. Have you read it?
No.
Fascinating, about the chemistry of being female and where it came from and what it serves, and so interesting. We don't think about the complexity that's involved in creating human beings out of our bodies, right? We just like
Right.
had a baby. Oh yeah, okay, well, um, but I do think,
Yeah. I mean, I can't. I was just mentioning this the other day. I can't even begin to wrap my head around what it must feel like to give life directly out of your body. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around that sensation. What a wonder.
what a wonder. But also, the expression "mama bear."
Hmm.
There's a thing that happens to us. And I know I've come up against it a couple of times. I had a very problematic marriage, the father of my kids. He was a Marine who came out of Vietnam after fighting in the jungle. And I met him afterwards and didn't really know much about what had gone on. But, we married and began having babies, both of us thrilled to be having these little ones right away. And I had a bunch in succession. But he was unraveling at the same time that the family was beginning to grow. And so he became addicted and violent. And this has happened, to so many people. I'm not alone here. But I realized that if I was going to survive and my children were going to survive, I had to go up against him and get them out of the situation. But there were some times when I had to physically face him down, um, to save a kid. And it's interesting what happens to a woman when her babies are threatened. You know,
Sure.
you you have power that you didn't know you had, for sure. And that's also probably a chemical thing, and I don't know all about that, but because of what's happened in my life, also my mother died when I was 18. So, and she was ill for a lot of the time that I was growing up. So I came into adulthood with a different understanding of my place in the world. I knew I was on my own. I knew there was nobody back there looking out for me, in a real and immediate way. I was on my own. But I also, that was my normal. I didn't expect anything different particularly. So it's so interesting for us grown-ups to look back on, yeah, why? How did that happen? I'm not sure I know. And you kind of think everybody's like that, but I guess they're not. Um, and I'm now coming to understand that maybe there's something to just being born that
There is, but I think where you might have been going when you were talking about that children are born fearless, in response to the question about how does it feel emotionally to be stronger. I think maybe you were getting to the point of the fact that as you become stronger physically, as you become stronger with the knowledge of having achieved something that takes persistence and stick to itiveness, and having achieved that, um, that emotional strength kind of frees you up from the fear. I
Absolutely.
think that's where you were going.
Yes, and for people who don't feel themselves being fearless, it's certainly a way to become more that way. It adding strength, physical strength, is a lovely, surprising kind of gift that we can give to ourselves. And the question is always, well, am I worth it? Or, maybe I should be doing other things, especially if you're a caregiver. It feels a little selfish to take this time to really make yourself stronger physically. And I'm a believer. I mean, yeah, for whatever reason, it will make you more mentally strong, as well as more physically fit. And plus, it's fun. I have this great little group of ladies, local ladies, and that's my social life.
Hmm.
We dish, when we're pumping iron. And I live in
I love it.
little tiny town and on a little farm, and so I don't see these people every day, but when I do see them, I'm delighted that it's on repeat and we get to share the information about who bought that place, and how much did it go for, and all the stuff that you want to know.
Well,
It's good.
Lynne Bowman, for brownies, eat breakfast. For breakfast, eat brownies.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Great book. I recommend it. Lynn, people can find you at your website, which will be in the show notes. I want to thank you for your strength. I want to thank you for your persistence, and I want to thank you for your time
Thank
in coming on and sharing these things. I think what you had to share is really important stuff. And I hope that folks take it to heart. Thanks for being here.
thank you.